Hey everyone, this is Demian Ross, and welcome to Awaken Nation with Brad Zollis.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Zollis, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things. Welcome to Awakened Nation. I have a great guest today, everybody. You're going to love him, Demian Ross. Let me tell you, this guy is the living epitome of the kind of guests I like to have on Awakened Nation. And let me read his bio real quick. It's Demian Ross is a digital nomad that has been traveling the country full-time since June of 2017. He has made a commitment to record 1,000 videos in 1,000 days where he talks about sales, marketing, parenting, traveling, depression, and dealing with life's struggles. He's also a father of 4 adult children. Demian Ross, welcome to the show. And I guess my first question is, where in the hell are you today?
Yeah, so right now, it's actually the first question a lot of people ask me. It's the fine Waldo. I'm in Pueblo, Colorado, about 2 hours south of Denver, Colorado.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you want to tell your story a little bit, because I find this incredibly interesting. You were let go at a corporate job, and you just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to live life on my own terms. So let's start with that.
Yeah, so it goes back to 2014. I was director of marketing of a large mattress company, and literally, honestly, on Wednesday, I'm having a conversation with the CEO about a trade show we have to do in Vegas, and Friday I walk in and they're telling me they're letting me go.
Wow.
No warning, no nothing. Single dad. I still had 2 of my kids. I had custody of all 4 of my kids at one time, but I had custody with both. And I couldn't recover. It sent me really in a financial kind of spin. And by 2016, I was homeless, and I had to displace my kids while I was kind of still out looking to find full-time employment. I didn't want to mess up my credit. Anyone that's ever lived in California, if you're renting, credit's all you have. And so I only went homeless for about 2 months. I got a new gig that I just took a gig that I didn't like, but I felt it was leading me in the direction of having a job that I could do like remotely. And it's funny, out of that, volunteered at Social Media Marketing World, where I had attended like the 3 years before. And I kind of opened up and said, hey, while I was volunteering and hanging out with you guys, I bet you didn't know I was homeless at the time. And in a private Facebook group, and the CEO reached out to me, who I kind of knew, and was like, man, Damon, I had no idea. Let me help you. What's going on? I just got a new job, just got a new place, sent me a good amount of money just to help, kind of recoup some of the, moving in cost. And within a couple months of that, he offered me a job to come work at Social Media Marketing World. And I literally started with them in October 2016. And I knew I wanted to get out of California. And this was a remote job. So this was my opportunity. I just, California, if you're not surfing every day, and if you're not in television, it's really hard to survive. So me and my best friend Nikki, both of us were kind of fans of Fixer Upper, and just really fans of just the prices to buy a home and land and fix something up, and thought, let's move to Texas. And then I thought, but what if Texas isn't really where I want to go? I've never been. And somehow we still don't remember the idea, but we bought an RV in basically April. And June 1 of 2017, we moved everything we had into the RV and took off. And about a month and a half, we'll have done 2 years on the road full time in an RV.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. How do you love it? Because this is not for everybody, but I've heard like people have ditched that regular 9 to 5 to live the RV life or the tiny house movement or things like this, and they have a greater peace of mind. How about you? Do you think that's helped?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to be the person that like oversells it, that it's going to have, it has its ups and downs like anything else. I feel like coming out of, Los Angeles, Orange County, California, that it's a lot more affordable than living there for sure. Especially, I was single dad with 4 kids, raising all 4 by myself for about 13 years until they've all kind of graduated and moved out. And so to have a partner that you're splitting the cost and doing this kind of traveling is great. I didn't know at the time when I decided to do this, and I kept it kind of secret from the company I was working at, even though I was a remote job. But was how much it would help me in sales because of just what you started out with was like, hey, where are you? So a lot of my emails and my correspondence were, hey, I'm in, Surf City, Texas. And the next week I'd be somewhere in New Mexico and then Utah and then Oregon and Washington. And over a while, sometimes people, even when they didn't have an interest in buying from me, would be like, hey, I got to ask you, in these emails, you're always in a different location. What's going on with that? And so it opened up doors that I just didn't know it could. And I kind of hid from it. And then once I realized that it was really kind of helping me and everyone at work knew I was doing it, then it really, really helped. But I will say one of the downsides is, especially even with my employer at the time, I was leaving 9 days of vacation on the table at the end of my first year. And I was like, hey, I haven't really taken any vacation. I'm thinking about taking the next 9 Fridays off. And her response to me was, but it's like you're on vacation right now anyways.
You're kidding.
No. And I kind of was like, that's maybe people that live in Hawaii or live in Paris, maybe that's what they hear because that's someone's idea of a vacation. Living in an RV full time isn't camping. It's not, it's my life. This is what I do. It's a condo on wheels, really what it is. That's what it is. I just happen to have a different location, every week or every other week. And it was funny, when I heard that response, and that was me working within the company within the first year, I thought, uh-oh, this might not be a good thing. Even though they were very proud of the fact that of the 40-something employees, only 15 worked in San Diego, that we were all this remote international, it's just weird that then I could see it started to bother in a way.
Right. Well, sometimes people at the top of an organization, they really have absolutely no connection to the lifestyle and what their employees are going through for that struggle to actually, make the paycheck and live their life. So yeah, complete disconnect.
No, totally. And so obviously my job was all sales, but my background is really marketing and sales. Marketing a lot more. And really my background was bringing marketing and sales departments together. I just felt like every company I've ever worked for, they fought and blamed each other. So that was kind of my.
I was just going to say that marketing and sales always fight.
Yep.
And I was part of the dotcom boom, and I remember sitting in board meetings, and all the marketing people were on one side, and the IT people were on the other, and they were all fighting over who owned the server.
Right.
And of course, the IT guys were like, "We're the internet, man. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have anything." And then the marketing people were like, we just need the website done and updated and they were just fighting constantly. So I'm glad you have a niche part of your business.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to do from the time I got fired to the time I came to work from social media marketing world, was help companies with that and part of the sales and marketing, really marketing and sales. But so for me, I was doing all sales. And there wasn't really anything that creative about it. And really all my ideas were just constantly getting shot down, which was kind of like, why hire me? You should have just hired someone that can do, direct mail and calls. And you don't need someone with out of the box thinking. Right. So I decided I need a creative outlet. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to shoot 300 videos in a year, give myself a little buffer just in case I run into internet issues or uploading. And I noticed at first it became a problem, which is kind of funny because, I was working for a company that teaches social media marketing. Basically it's a conference every year. And what I noticed was it was opening more and more doors, and interesting doors, even to the point where it was like, hey, would you come speak at our social media event? And I don't know about you, if you've ever done sales, if you can walk around with a sales badge or at a conference, or you can walk around with a speaker badge at a conference, it's a big door opener where I can go meet with my prospects because they just see me as a speaker. And they're not like, oh, this is a guy that's here to pitch me. This is a speaker that I'm trying to pitch him. Right. I was like, holy crap, so this is really cool. I don't have to pay for the conference, so my company doesn't come out of any money to send me there. A lot of times hotel is included. It was just a really cool thing. But again, that became a bad thing. And so then I was just like, I'm just going to do these videos and it's just going to be for me. But it really did open up some really cool kind of networking opportunities. A lot of kind of the brands that I was going after started engaging with me online, even to the point where they were retweeting and sharing my content. I don't know if you've ever had to call someone and say, hey, I'm Demian Ross. I'm the guy that you shared the video. I'd love to talk to you about, sponsoring my event. It's a whole different door opener than, hey, I'm Demian Ross. I'm going to explain to you who I am. And so it was just weird that it became such an ordeal because it wasn't, I would love to say to you, I started the video series because I knew it would open doors. I did not. I started the video series as a creative outlet. I just recorded day 392 in a row. The goal is to do 1,000 of these. There's just talking head, quick edit, jump cuts for me. Some last 4. Actually, I think I did one that lasted like 8 minutes. But and it's just a creative outlet that now I hit the 300 goal, I hit the 365 goal, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to see if I can do 1,000, which is nuts.
Let me give a shout out to our audience. How do they go to watch these videos? What's the URL? Do they go to a YouTube channel? Where do they go?
Yeah, so YouTube is probably, it's something I haven't announced. I think after day 400, I'm probably going to pull these natively from Facebook. So YouTube's where to go. Everything for me, social, YouTube, is just Demian Ross. So whatever the platform is, /DEMIANROSS, Instagram, Facebook. If you want to find him on Facebook, you can find Demian Ross, The Road to 1,000. There's a page there that's doing those. But I really feel like I just need to focus on putting these on YouTube. And now that the magic sauce is the comments. It's the engagement. It's not the views or the likes. And so for me, it's hard maintaining, going back and forth. Where did that person comment? And am I commenting back as the page? And YouTube just makes it so much easier. And I think that's just really the platform I want to hang out.
That's cool.
Yeah, come to YouTube, hang out with me.
I think, you're doing exactly what this medium was meant, the way it's meant to be used. And that is, we're not trying to sell you stuff. We're not trying to shove this down your throat. Here are my collection of thoughts on the universe. I don't know if you've ever read the Cluetrain Manifesto, but that was one of the books that woke my ass up because I thought, the internet's this and it's that. And they basically said in there, the internet has created a fire. And this fire is this, people are passionate about something. People have breast cancer. They can go over here and talk with their tribe. And if people hate the type of artwork, you can go talk with their tribe or whatever. And when a marketing person comes in there, that fire, a marketer is actually an arsonist. And what's an arsonist? It's a fake fire. They're creating a fire that's not real. And you're creating real content, which I think is the power of the way this should be used. And I love some of what you're doing. You're talking about life. You're talking about marketing, depression even. And you look like a lumberjack. And one of the questions I've had on the tip of my tongue is, hey, if I had to get a tattoo for the first time in my life, where do I start, Demian?
Well, hopefully at a tattoo shop. But you mean like physically on your body?
What's my choice? Should I go for a dragon, a kick-ass dragon on my shoulder, or should I do a tiny little phoenix or something?
Yeah, there you go. So I'm what's called a 40%er. About 40% of my body is covered in tattoos.
Cool.
I would love to be a 50%er at some time. I've never understood walking in and being like, give me A7. It's like a little picture on the wall, like you just tattoo it up. So for me, they're all storytelling. They're all things that do with my heritage or my family and my kids and moments. And I mean, there's even stuff about this, like the last 2 years on the trip. And so I always say start where no one can see them in the beginning, just because work's tough too. I mean, the job that I had at the mattress company wouldn't allow tattoos. It wouldn't allow facial hair too either. I mean, that's the guy that's saying, okay, I love my kids. I'm going to take a job where I have to wear a long sleeve shirt every day, and I'm going to shave my face for the first time in a long time, but I'm going to be able to support my family. I think they've gone away from I think they've allowed beards now, but they still, not big on tattoos. So I would start where, people can't see them and then see where you go. There's a lot of people that start right from the get-go where they're, on their arm or on their neck or something like that. I'm just like, hold on for a while, and then space yourself out, get a tattoo, and at least wait 6 months. They are a little addicting. I can't tell you what it is behind the science of that, but if you space yourself out, you won't go crazy. And it's permanent. So make sure you really like that dragon.
Well, I was thinking of getting a phoenix. And my attitude is this, is because it has a story behind it, that's probably why they become so popular. And we're in a day and age right now where young people, I think this is the one place where they have control to say, you know what, this is my body, I can do what I want.
Right.
And for those of you who are listening, we're on video right now, so you can't see this, but Demian is cool as hell. He has this hat on, winter cap sort of thing, skull cap. But you look like a lumberjack with a big beard, and tattoos up and down your arms. And which one is your favorite tattoo, by the way? Do you have one?
Yeah, I think the inside of my arm is a tree that is out at the my parents' house in 29 Palms, and it has all my kids' name on it. And it's just when I was going through my divorce from their mom, I didn't have a place big enough for them, so I would pick them up on a Friday, and we would drive out and spend the weekend out in the 29 Palms house, and then go back. So it was just a lot of good memories, and really most of the ink is I mean, my family crest is on my chest, and just, the first 48 years of my life is on my right arm, and I just keep adding stuff to it. And I mean, it starts being born in Seattle and living in Boston and New York and Germany, and then really being raised all through Los Angeles, and, kind of my sobriety. I mean, next week I'll celebrate 22 years sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Congratulations on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you talk about the image of me. So like, yeah, I'm 6'6". I've got this big beard. I do have a pretty big personality. I've got all this ink on me, and I think people are like, okay, there's a big tough guy. But a lot of times too, in my content, I'm talking about just how things aren't that great and how I suffer from like everyone else. So November of this year, 2018. Let me back up a little. In August, I was on a sales call with my boss and my two employees, and I had a nervous breakdown. I felt it coming on in the morning, and I'd never had this kind of like panic attack type thing before. And I was on mute because I was just bawling. Like I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't figure it out. My roommate's looking at me like, what's wrong? Are you about to have a heart attack? Like, what's going on? And so I unmuted and just said, you guys, I got to get off the phone. I'll call you later. And I just had a lot of things going on in my life that were just, it was hard to manage, especially being away. I got kids on the East Coast and on the West Coast, just trying to handle everything. I was starting the process of dating a new girl that lived in Canada, and here I am traveling with my best friend, and it's like, how do I fit all these worlds together? And it fell apart. I felt at the time my boss was a little too involved in my personal life, and it was hard to I knew I had to cut this off. Like I feel like I put enough information out there that's public to try to have one-on-one conversations with me during company hours about my love life or who I'm hanging out with just was really hard for me. I don't know why. And about 2 weeks later, so like mid-September, I got an email. It's like, hey, here's your sales goal for the month of October. I'd never had a sales goal before, and the event is like 6 months away, so there's not a lot of sales being closed. And I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And her attitude had really started changing towards me, and it just was weird. And literally, I had to have the hard talk where it's like, is this like a goal, or is this like, if you don't hit it, you're fired? And she's like, I would just hit it if I were you. And I was like, okay. And it was really weird because late September, I'm down in San Diego. I'm doing all this promo for the event, and I'm thinking, my mind's thinking, okay, it's just a way to like kind of get some fire. Maybe they're just not happy with the numbers. Another little interesting backstory. So I decided, instead of traveling, I was going to set up camp in the Outer Banks in North Carolina. A friend of mine who was also a nomad was going to be away from his house, and I was going to stay in his house. I thought this was a great opportunity to start dating this girl from Canada. And so I literally flew to San Diego where she was, and we drove cross country on the weekend to the OBX. And we were going to drive on the weekends. I'd have to work one week and then drive the next weekend. And 11/1, I got that call where my boss is like, hey, we need to talk to you tomorrow at 5 p.m. I'm like, okay, cool. And they fired me. I didn't hit my goal.
Wow.
And that was it. Like I was like on this, I was just starting this new relationship. I was moving to North Carolina. Sales were going good, so much better than the previous year, October. And yet I got canned. And it really messed me up because, as a single dad raising 4 kids, when I went through what I went through, where I went homeless and I had to displace them, like I guess a lot of that trauma I hadn't worked through, and it came back. And ultimately I ended up pushing this girl away, or I should say running away, where I just felt like, hey, you need someone that's got their shit together and is making money. And it just really messed with my mind. And so we're not together anymore. Really sucks. Great girl, perfect girl for me. And I don't feel that way today. It's just what the trauma did to me while I was out there. And then in the new year, I was having a conversation with the CEO. We're still friends. And he basically told me, hey, it wasn't me that wanted to fire you. And that spun me, because then I was like, wait, CEOs worry about the money. If you're paying me money and I'm not making you money, then you would be okay with firing me. If you're saying that you weren't okay with firing me, then you're saying it was just that the gal that you have running your department had a personality issue with me, because I didn't want to talk about my personal life, my sex life, just anything. And that spun me even more. Like, that really like messed me up, where I was like, wait, so it was personal. There's something wrong with me as a human being, that, you couldn't wait to see if I could actually hit the goal by the event in March, that you had to get rid of me then and there. It was just really weird. So it really did. I would say I've had some pretty hardcore depressed seasons. 2016, obviously going homeless to placing my kids was probably, I thought, was my worst, because I even got to like a place of where suicide might be an option. But this last one was pretty bad too. And I think that's when I really said, okay, this is it. I can't have all my eggs in one basket anymore. I can't rely on one kind of check. I can't allow someone to decide one day, you know what, I don't like you, dude, you're fired, and have that be. Now, they did everything correct, so I can't really sue. Not that I'm really a sue guy anyways. I think everyone's kind of at will. But yeah, man, it was really, I'm still kind of recovering from it today. And it's been 5 months now, just because of what it did financially, what it did to a really great relationship I was starting, what it did even to just, my relationship with my roommate. Like, it just really, it screwed up a lot of things. What it did to my kids. I mean, I was still paying a kid's college and another one in private school. And, it's hard once that check gets cut. Yeah. It wasn't like I had, a huge nest egg saved up and had all this money rolling. So, and I was in the back of my head, I was thinking maybe after the event, they might let me go. Maybe I'm just not a right fit for them, just because they keep saying no to every idea. But I was like, well, at least I have time to figure that out before March. Right. And maybe it won't happen. But for it to happen, my first sales goal ever in 2 years, missing it by, I don't know, 30% or something. And the sad thing is that 30% came in after I left. And a lot of the ideas that they said no to, they actually did. And that's where it was just like, I don't get it. Like, I thought I was a pretty decent guy. Like, I don't get, yeah, it just sucked.
This is how companies work. That's the sad part.
No, without a doubt. And I think that's where I just, so I've actually come up with a term. I don't know if I can actually make a business out of it. It's something I'm thinking about. It's called Rootless.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So there's just no roots. And, so for me, it's like, I really don't think you should. And again, it's not that it's wrong. If anyone's listening that has this lifestyle currently, I'm not degrading you. I'm saying it's not for me. And I believe other people out there, it's not for me. Living in the same city for my entire life, from birth to death, does not sound like something I could do.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and working for a company where I got a gold watch at the end and retire isn't something I can do. And I think there's a lot of people, especially, in the last 10 years now, where, you and me being able to talk via the internet, that just wasn't an option 10 years ago, really.
No, it wasn't.
And you couldn't have these jobs. I'm at, Pueblo Lake in Colorado. If I look out my window, I'm looking at a lake. I'm in a campground that holds 200 spots. There might be 5 people here because it's an off season for them, and
that's crazy.
It's $12 a night to camp here, and it's quiet and beautiful. Take my kayaks out, and, without the ability to have, internet and cell phones, I just couldn't do this. No one could do this. And so it's still fairly new. And I just think there's a lot of people that don't know how to do it or don't have the courage to do it. Moving out of California, and leaving 3 of my kids, and at the time, my parents are bi-coastal as well too. And, my older son moved to New York, so it was kind of opening up, but there was just part of me like, if I don't leave California, they're going to have grandkids and I'm never going to leave. They'll never experience anything outside of California. And so kind of my goal was, and it's probably Texas still, is to get land, to be able to have a place where the family can come visit, where the grandkids can come and get out of, as much as New York's a concrete jungle, Los Angeles and Orange County is kind of that way too. There's just not a lot of, it's a little less than New York for sure, but I just want them to experience something. I'm already seeing my younger son, who's 19, that's like, I want to move out of California. I'd love to live in Texas too, or, somewhere where it's a lot more affordable. And I'm like, no, I get it. Like once you start figuring out that gas doesn't have to be $4.80 a gallon, like you don't have to pay that,
Right.
that you don't have to pay income tax if you want to. I'm a South Dakotan resident now. I don't pay income tax anymore. When you want to buy a house for $200,000 and it's still available, I don't know what you can buy in California for $200,000 anymore. You can't even get a 1-bedroom condo.
It's crazy how everything has changed. Well, you're touching on a couple of things that I think a lot of people go through but may not acknowledge. Number one is men, we identify with what we do for a living. And when that rug is pulled out from under us, we can develop those skills, but we're not taught them early in life.
Right.
And so when you get fired, you're like, yo, even when you hit your numbers and you're doing a good job, better than they had the year before, it can really be a punch in the gut.
Oh, yeah.
And then dealing with the depression. And I want you to talk about this a little bit, because a lot of times when someone steps up to the plate and has the balls to say, I'm depressed or I suffered from depression, all of a sudden two things happen. Either people back away or everybody wants to help you now.
Right.
And what do you say to that? Because sometimes there are moments where you don't want help. You want to be in what you're feeling. You want to be in the feeling. And I don't know if you can help our listeners with this, because we have people from all over who are suffering from depression.
Right.
And this can help them. This can help them immensely.
Yeah, so I might get a little emotional in this just because it's what I'm dealing with currently. I learned two things in the process of this, and I want everyone to imagine you find the perfect partner for you.
Right.
And you literally fly to her October 26th to start a life, and you get fired 5 days later. And, you're renting a home and you're traveling across the country, and and I had all this baggage of not being a good provider, not being able to give, I never bought my kid a car, any of them. I bought my oldest son a Jeep, but an old Jeep. There's lots of things that I wasn't able to provide for my children that, I feel like, especially where I was growing up or they were growing up in Orange County, like everyone got, everyone had their new BMW when they turned 16 kind of a thing. So it hit me really hard. Here's two mistakes that I made was, I think it was pretty well known that I had suffered from depression and I had down days for sure. And I talked about the whole going homeless and, really like I had my suicide moment. If I had a gun in the house, I probably wouldn't be here kind of at the moment. And, but I never talked to her. I never told her, here's what could happen. If I could get so sad that I don't want you to see it, that I will run away or push you away. And just love me through it. I'll come through it. Like it's never a constant lifestyle. I mean, I heard someone say something recently that sadness is non-sustainable. You can't stay in sadness forever. And I just wish I would have had more of those conversations with her, because I think we kind of had an understanding that we would fight for each other. And so something else I've recently realized just through kind of, just deep soul searching kind of stuff is that I push people away. And especially people I'm in a romantic relationship with. I've been divorced twice, so I've pushed both those women away, and girlfriends. And I guess subconsciously, I mean, literally, this is like in the last 48 hours, this is really real and raw for me. I just learned this, is that I've never been fought for. And I was doing it subconsciously because I want someone to fight for me. And I've fought for people. I've done everything I could, like even this girl, like, she's in Canada. She can't rent a place in the States right now and all this kind of stuff. And I fought and made all this stuff happen. I mean, fought and pushing doors, there's a fine line, but I just have never had that. If I tell someone, hey, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling depressed, or I don't think you love me, they check out. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, wait, what? So then your mind just really messes with you and said, okay, well, they never loved you. If they can check out that quick and not have a fight to it, I don't think that's necessarily the truth. It's just that I think when you're dealing with depression and you're dealing with anxiety, or you're dealing with this feeling of not being, or feeling worthless, you have to communicate it when you're happy. And I could have, and I just didn't. I should have really sat her down and said, this could happen. And sometimes it comes on, and it's not because of a major event like being fired. It's just, and during this time, there were a lot of other things that happened. My son, who was playing basketball, he blew out his ankle really bad right before the playoffs, and they won state championship, and he couldn't play a game. And as a dad, you know, like you carry that, and that added to it. And then there's just all this other stuff that gets added to it, and you just don't know you don't know how to pinpoint it. You don't know how to tell someone, this is what's making me sad, this is what. And really what's kind of funny, it doesn't matter what's making you sad. Like trying to figure it out isn't always the answer, and it confuses the other person. It's like, I'm really sad, I don't know why. And they're like, I don't get that. How do you not know why you're sad? And most people know. It's, did you read a meme that made you sad? I'm like, no, I don't know what it is. So it's really the communication in the highs to talk about your lows, and to even say, like, historically, I've run away or I've said really terrible, mean things to kind of get you to leave, which I didn't do with her, but I have done that historically. And just to have those frank conversations ahead of time, like but see, the reason I feel like I'm talking about it is because online, and I'll come back to that because this is a funny story. I think in 2014, I had a friend ask if they could borrow $50,000 from me. Mm-hmm. How much money do you think I have to loan, not a best friend, but someone I'm in contact with, $50,000? I mean, how much cash do I have to loan that to someone?
To just sit around and be making money, you probably have to be, handling maybe $200,000 a year as your business.
Yeah, and so I don't think I could put $5,000 together to like bail someone out at the time. And somehow online, even though I'm not bullshitting and trying to lie or make anything seem like anything, somehow I gave the impression that I got $50,000 laying around that I could loan to a quasi kind of, friend. Yeah. And I feel like this lifestyle, with me being this big, kind of funny, outgoing guy, that I think what I've learned is that when I've talked about depression or anxiety or feeling rejected or any of that, people will come to me, especially in DMs. They'll come to me and be like, if you're suffering from that, it makes me feel like it's okay, which is kind of funny to me because they look at this lifestyle and they're like, Demian, you're traveling all the time. You have all these friends, you're speaking at events, you got your video series, blah, blah, blah. Like, and think about it. Like, I went through these incredible lows and somehow I still made a video every day. You know what I mean? Like I still was, and it's
discipline.
But it's also too, it's funny that it really became kind of my lifeline because it would be really easy. There's been plenty of times where I just want to check out on social media and just go away, but I can't because I got to do this dumb video every day, and I've got to put it up. And sometimes they're not sad. I don't want to use the word sad. They are real and raw.
Yeah.
See, I'm holding back like tears because whatever I'm talking about. And,
you can cry here, bro.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, honestly, I was in Denver in 2018, like in June, and I was just having a conversation. I started crying. And I was like, man, I haven't cried in like 2 years. Like, honestly, I hadn't cried since, losing the place and displacing the kids. I haven't had tears in like 2 years. And then like ever since then, it's like it's opened. But it's good and healing. I love it. I mean,
it is.
I definitely, look, I went to LA High. I was the first white kid to go to my LA High since like the 50s. I grew up thinking I was a little bit of a gangster. By the time I was 26, I was facing 28 years in prison. I was doing some dumb stuff, thought I was a tough guy. And you just didn't cry. You didn't share your emotions. You didn't talk about anything, and I didn't have those kind of parents. I had parents that were very open, very all about therapy and communication. But, I let the street side really kind of do that. And it did that for years where if you literally could flip back to 2010 and say, hey, Demian, in 2019, you're going to be making videos, and sometimes your videos are going to talk about your own personal mental health struggle. I'd be like, you're an idiot. There's no way. That's 2010. Right. You take me back to 96, I'd have shot you in the face for saying something so stupid. That's ridiculous. That's not who I am in any way.
Well, you're touching on something I think is, it's scary. It's a new world. It's a lot of things, and that is this. We are entering into a phase where men talk about this stuff. You're the modern man. I'm the modern man. We deal with our emotions. We talk about their emotions. Women, on the other hand, are making a huge transition, too, into their own power. Right. So when they hear this sort of stuff, it gets them, they do the masculine thing, which is they run away.
Right.
And it's the whole yin-yang symbol. We're dealing with things
that they've always asked us to deal with, and now we're dealing with it. I never had to face real depression until about 5 years ago, which led to a divorce. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And I actually had to call a friend. And he said, look, if you can't get off the couch, you can't get off the couch. If you wake up at 2 a.m. and you can get work done then, you get work done then. You just can't fight certain things.
Right.
We have the discipline, you know, and your lifeline was the video every day, which I admire the hell out of you for doing that. That takes guts, that takes commitment, that takes you being real. And I think that's a testament to who you are, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think too, you know, that's one of the things, like I'd like to say that my choice of leaving and coming back and, you know, her staying in North Carolina was the right choice at the time, because it's sad to say that I don't think she would have been able to handle who I was in January, just how bad it was, where literally, like you said, the only time I got off the couch was sometimes to record a video, and sometimes it was to record 2 because I knew tomorrow I wouldn't be able to. Right. And at least I had it done. And I think that's really unfair. Like, I think going back to kind of what you're saying is I didn't give her the power to be able to fight with me. I made a choice for her, where I basically said she won't be able to handle this. And, you know, I don't know if I was right or wrong. I just know she's not in my life anymore from a romantic standpoint. I don't believe there's I think originally there was like this idea of, okay, let's get you back and healthy and feeling good and let's try again. I think that's weighed kind of thin on her now, which is okay. But what I think I learned from it was you got to trust people too, that they're going to be able to, if they really love and care about you, they're going to be able to withstand your sadness, your just right. funk. And unfortunately my funk was setting in hardcore, you know, and this is around Christmas time, and I wasn't getting off the couch. Like I just wasn't, and I didn't have an income. And she's over there cranking away, working, starting her business, and I'm just, sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And I was like, I just can't have her be around this. It's like what my mind was telling me. And that was the wrong choice. Like I really should have let her have the opportunity to just,
right.
Again, if I would have talked to her when things were high, and if I would have said, here's the things that could go wrong, but it's gonna, like, I'm not sitting on the couch all day anymore. You know what I mean? I haven't since February. It was a good 45 day kind of crappy session. And even my roommate took me to Mexico. She's like, let's go to Mexico. And maybe that'll help. I mean, it was good to be in Mexico and stuff, but it's still,
right.
I trade the couch for a pool lounge. I'm still sitting there moping around, but
wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. My dad used to say too, and I love this, is, in every room there's an asshole, whether you're by yourself or you're in a big group. But if you look around, you can't see him. Guess what?
Words of wisdom from Dad.
Yeah. I've got a couple. I mean, I haven't spoken to my father probably in about 4 years, really. And, but there's still a lot of good wisdom that I definitely have from him in those kind of moments. But, I will say, what's that?
Can you recommend any tools? I'm thinking of this, sorry to interrupt, but can you give anybody tools right now who's going through depression? Because I could give you a bunch of tools. Everybody around could give tools, but I want to hear it from somebody who actually goes through these moments.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously, tool one is some sort of really good therapist or therapy or someone you can really talk to that understands kind of the dynamics of depression. Not everyone can afford that. That's not in everyone's health plan either anymore.
Right.
And a lot of people, that's scary because it's a stranger. I think the key is really opening it up at least to one or two people, right. that really love and care about you. The hard part is that people are like, hey man, if you need me, reach out. That's the hard part. It is hard to reach out. Like, I feel like there's times where it's so much easier for me to record these videos because it's still just me and the camera, and I don't know who's really going to watch it or who's going to respond to it. So the real key is just like straight up finding someone that you can talk to. But I think it's also what you're putting into your head. I was feeding myself with a lot of just going through my phone and like looking at the photos and being like, look at me, woe's me, look what I lost. And I think it's really thinking about, like, so for me, one of the mind shifts that really helped me is, hey, look, when I got divorced in 2014, I was done. I was never getting married again. this girl changed my world on that. Like I would marry her. And so for me, that's what I'm taking away from it. It's that it's not that I'm against marriage. It's that I just am against marrying the wrong person. You know what I mean? Like that's, and so even though there's a lot of sadness in it, there's like, okay, well, that's something really cool and good. It's like looking for the good in it. And same thing with the job. Like the job sucked, but like that's 5 months ago. I'm still plugging along financially. I haven't found like a really good, secure, solid income. Income's coming in little by little. I'm still scraping by. Holy shit, I'm scraping by while I'm like dealing with all this like emotional trauma. And then my thought process goes to, when I'm not dealing with this emotional trauma, like how incredible is it going to be? And then I started thinking about how, you know, like even in a 10-hour day, I don't know what it was, but if I took like an hour and a half in the middle of the day to go kayak, like on a lunch break, let's say, there was always that paranoia of that's when they'll want to talk to me. And then I have to like run back to my RV and, you know, and it just was a lifestyle that was causing a lot of stress and anxiety anyways. And I just don't have it anymore. You know, I mean, it sucks to get fired, but I just don't have when I come up with an idea, I get to do it. You know,
that's the best part.
Yeah. And when I come up with a sales idea, the same ideas that I want to use to help grow their company, I'm able to do to help kind of grow my own thing, and they're working. And so I think also too, I mean, that was one of the things when you surround yourself with people that are just constantly saying no, you start to almost feel stupid, you know, like you just like, what, really every idea is bad? So I think all these things, and I think that's just it. It's the outlook. I mean, I wish I could have done the outlook immediately. I wish I had like the head game or just the knowledge of this. I mean, even when all this went south of me in 2016, I'd never dealt with it. So it wasn't like okay, here we go again. It was like, oh shoot, I wasn't in a relationship in 2016 when I went homeless. It was just me dealing with it. So now here I am in this financial kind of trauma, and I'm in a relationship. Now I'm like, I'm prepared. Like I know how to deal with it. And I think spinning that and thinking about that and talking about it is what really helps. And then, you know, if you're a writer, write. If you record. If you're audio, record it. But just keep it for yourself even, to remember and remind yourself that, you know, you're going to come out of this. Like that's the first season, depression is the worst. The 2016 one was terrible because I didn't know if I'd ever come out of it. You know, you just feel like, but let me say this too. I do feel like something snapped in me in 2016 that I haven't fully recovered from. Like I just am not the same kind of overall joyous kind of just goofing off kind of guy. Like there is something that changed in 2016 when all that happened. And I'm probably like 90% back, but there is depression does do that to you. It does take away something, and you're always like on edge in a way. And anxiety is the same thing. But here's what I love about depression and anxiety that I've really learned too. And here's a tool that I guess you can use. Depression is really thinking about the past. It really is. That's really what it is. You're thinking back to things that were really good or a time you think was good, and you're confusing yourself. And anxiety is thinking about the future and, you know, like what it might be. And so, you know, thinking about either one of those causes that. And for some, it's very slight. And for some, it's massive. And for me, on both of those, it's massive. Like I want to relive the past or fix the past. And you can't. Like you literally can't. And then the other part of it is I want to plan and figure out the future and know what it's going to be, and you can't. So living, it's so cliche, and I did it when I was getting sober, but living day by day and just living in today is really good. And then my last little tool that I've been working on is forgiveness. So in my own situation, I'm the villain and the victim in my own story. I'm the guy that ran away from the girl, and I've lost the girl. So I was the villain because I ran away, and I'm the victim because I don't have her anymore. So that's hard. That's kind of like driving drunk and crashing into a tree, and now you're paralyzed. You're the villain and the victim in your own story. You can't blame anyone. So what I've had to do is I've obviously had to make amends for what I've done and say I'm sorry, but I just didn't really forgive myself, or I wasn't allowing myself to forgive myself, and just saying, okay, I was making these decisions not in my right mind, and I got to forgive myself for that. That was my kind of my road today. As someone encouraged me with that today, where they just said, you got to stop blaming yourself for making decisions with the wrong mindset. And I'm currently forgiving people that have not asked for forgiveness, or I don't think they ever will. And I'm even doing it where I don't even have to tell them, because I think it comes off kind of, you know, snobbish. Just in my own soul, I'm just saying, I forgive this person. I forgive them for the way they treated me, what they did, because the idea of, what's the analogy? It's like drinking poison and hoping they die by holding on
Right.
to kind of stuff. And it's really been freeing in the last 30 days just to go through, here's what my first ex-wife did to me, and here's what she did to the kids, or here's what I did to the kids, or here's what my second wife did to me and did to my kids. And I'm just like, I just got to forgive all that. Like, I just have, there's no reason to stay in that. It's done. It's over. You can't fix it. And even if they did come to you and say they're sorry, I don't think they will. I don't think that's going to happen for the people that really wronged me and decade ago, 20 years ago. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, let me go find them on Facebook. I want to call them up and I want to apologize,
Hey, what's up? Remember
Yeah.
me?
And and that was part of the steps that I had to make amends to people, where especially it wouldn't get me in trouble with the law. And I did a lot of that. And it really freed me then. It just reminded me of that. I forgot about, there's a lot of freedom in it. And I think the big lesson that I think I'm learning is giving up hope on things that you can't control. There's a lot of freedom in that. I can't say, oh, the job, please call me back and say, hey, the company's not the same without you. We'll pay you double the salary and da-da-da. That's hope that you can't control. And sitting around and like thinking about that, that's just going to mess you up. For me to sit around and think, oh, this girl is going to call me up and be like, look, I get it. You really were going through some trauma and depression, and, we can work through it. I'm giving up hope on that, because that doesn't do me any good to sit around and hope that that's going to be the case. It's just not going to be the case. And there's a lot of freedom in giving away hope that you don't have. I'm not saying to give up hope on things you can control. I'm not giving up hope on the businesses I'm going to create,
Absolutely.
the video I'm going to do every day, but giving up hope on what other people control, it's very freeing. It's not succumbing to that you don't deserve these things. It's just a mindset that's going to help you move forward today.
Demian, you have brought some serious wisdom to today, and I want.
Don't I sound like I have my shit together? Like, it's like
totally, man.
Right. That's the funny thing. Like,
you're the coolest motherfucker. I want to hang out with you, man.
Yeah, and I think like it's funny too, because I get that, and then you'd be sitting next to the couch watching Netflix with me while I'm sitting there saying, I can't believe how bad I messed up. This sucks. My poor best friend, like, she's so over it. She's like, shut up, talk to someone else. It's ridiculous.
This shit's funny. But
it is.
I love your honesty, though, because I think we're in a day and age where these things, the scabs are being pulled off.
Oh, yeah.
And we're dealing with real, raw stuff. We're not bullshitting ourselves anymore. And I want to thank you for bringing the tools, because, we have a lot of clinical psychologists. We got a lot of people blowing smoke up everyone's ass trying to give you advice.
Right.
And they've never been depressed. Real depression. They've been sad because they didn't get a tax refund this year, so they're sad.
Exactly.
We're talking depression where you can't get off the couch for a month.
Yep.
You're eating Cheetos, and those Cheetos, the only reason you're eating them is because someone dropped them off.
Exactly.
So I want to thank you for your advice today. Any closing words you want to tell the audience here, because you are a renaissance man on many, many levels. And I know you probably don't hear that, but it's the truth.
No, I appreciate that. I would say, again, it's just the being open and being real and raw that's really powerful. And then also noticing that when you're not dealing with it, there's a saying that I've learned recently, is that you might bleed on people that didn't cut you. And I did. The majority of the trauma that was coming out in late 2018 was from 2016. Like, that's when it was coming out from. I hadn't dealt with it. And it had, same thing with relationships. You could have some real trauma in a relationship, and you'll take it in, you'll set up these boundaries and these rules and these things, and it's hurting the relationship because you didn't deal with it. So to your analogy, like picking at the scab over and over and not really allowing it to heal and talking about it and doing things, it's really powerful. I feel like we don't do that as people, and you don't need, and being stuck in victim mode is fucking contagious. Like, you can be in victim mode. Woe is me. My parents didn't love me. Blah, 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 and you just go down the line. And I'm really trying my best not to be in victim mode. I'm really trying to be like, okay, these things happen. They suck. Some I deserve, some I didn't. But what's that going to do? Now I need to move forward. And I think that's just it. It's just, what can I do today? Like, stop thinking about a year from now, or how do I make $100,000? Just, how do I make $100 today? How do I How do I go get something to eat today? Like those are the things when you're really, really stuck in it. How do I reach out to one person today? Because the cliche of, hey, reach out to me, and it's tough. And when I do have people, I mean, I got a really nice encouraging message today from someone. I even recorded a video about it because it was powerful, and it took them 30 seconds. And I don't even think they realized how powerful it was going to be. And, we just don't do enough of that. We don't. Yeah.
We don't.
Without doubt. Especially guys. Like guys, I'm not, like, I'm in a mastermind, and it's 3 female, 3 male, and it's really good. But there is still part of me that would love to be like in a 3-4 guy, like mastermind, where it's just more about your personal life, the guys that have been through like stuff. And, I think there's power in that, because I think what you do find, the real power is when you start sharing your story and you find out you're not alone, you're not alone. Like you think you're alone and you're not talking about it. So you keep thinking you're alone. Once you start talking about it, even if it's a tweet, like today sucked, you'll get a bunch of people say it sucked for me, or how long does depression last? And people are like, oh my gosh, they'll come in and they'll talk to you about it, But I will say, be aware. I had a panic attack on a sales call. And I think my boss said I was too cool for that, and it changed, and maybe I was a little too real and too raw. Maybe I should have just said, you guys, I'm feeling sick. I'm about to throw up. I got to get off the phone. I have a fever. Maybe I should have lied. So you still do have to be a little careful who you're telling, but I think most of us know who we can trust, really trust and care, and that will fight for us. And it's powerful.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's powerful.
I agree with you, man. Demian, thank you for being on Awakened Nation, man.
Yeah,
anything I can do to help, you let me know. You reach out. How do people get in touch with you if they need to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so just everything social is at Demian Ross. You can email me. And again, the spelling's weird. My parents named me after a Herman Hesse book. So it's Demian, Demian. And you can do just everything is at Demian Ross pretty much on social. And then if you want to email me, it's Demian@DemianRoss.com. And I'll give you guys a little shout out. I have a podcast that I'm starting called Plan D.
Nice.
And it's just basically, I'm going to walk people through kind of the day by day of just everything that's gone on in the last 6 months. And then also keep people kind of update to the businesses I'm starting, whether it's Rootless or this wholesale arbitration I'm doing, or Plan D, and just talk about the ups and downs of starting your own business. So if you want to hang out, you can look for that podcast probably in about 2 weeks, called Plan D.
Do me a favor. Send me all the information on that, and I'll get that word out to everybody, because I think it's important what you do, both in business and when we talk about mental health and masculinity and manhood in this day and age, and what that means. Kicking ass and taking names. So I am so honored that Elizabeth introduced us, man. I really appreciate it. So,
no, this is really cool. I appreciate it.
Good.
All right,
thank you.
I'll see you on the interwebs.
I want to thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success will be because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.